Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this recap episode of Flow Over Fear. And I got to say that I am still buzzing about this interview that I just had with Amanda Moriuchi. She's the CEO of AppIt Ventures, which is one of the largest female-owned technology development firms in the world. And, that in and of itself is absolutely amazing. But one of the reasons I was so drawn in by this interview is because there sometimes you sit down and you talk with people and you're introduced to people who have such a contagious energy of achievement and drive and passion that, it left me, at least in this interview, it left me as the interviewer feeling so much more certain about my direction, my path, and where I'm called to, and knowing that that's the path that I need to go. And I think that this is something that's going to resonate with a lot of people that are listening to this episode. So I really hope that you listen to the interview because there's so many nuggets of wisdom, so many directions we went. It'll be impossible for me to recap and cover all of it. I have so many notes, but I at least wanted to cover some of the highlights that came out of this without knowing that we won't get to them all. One of the most important things we touched on came at the very, very end of the conversation, and it was the perfect mic drop moment, which was to say that she said that it is possible to be generous, both generous and successful. A lot of times we have a zero-sum game of like, well, if we want to be successful, we have to sacrifice our souls in some ways. But with that idea that it's possible to be generous and successful, and Amanda is living both of those qualities. She's bringing the passion of how she wants to change the world to this company that she runs. And in doing so, it's like, it's allowing people to take ownership of their own data, of their own, their own business data, instead of having the big tech companies own it. Through her application development, she's helping people to own it. But it's not just that. Just the fact that just the conversation and how it went from one of the last questions I'd asked her was how she went into buying AppIt Ventures. Like what brought her to that point? Because as she started out as a selling new homes. And then, she eventually went into technology and selling to CIOs, where she struggled a bit with the communication there, but eventually caught her stride. And then down the line, she went to buy this AppIt Ventures. And when we tend to think that there's this deliberate or extremely purposeful approach to buying businesses a lot of times to the entrepreneurial journey, that there's always this idea of this, I'm going to be an entrepreneur in this, I'm going to buy this business and it's going to be successful and we're going to go down the line. Rarely does that happen. And, one of the points that Amanda made was that many entrepreneurial journeys start out by accident, as hers did. She simply bought AppIt, because it was the next stage in that development she said something really important and really vital there, that when you're called to do something, you're called to do it, and you're drawn to do it. And if you're a driven person, you do that thing. A lot of us get mired in that idea of, well, we're feeling this calling, but we're not doing it because we're in this job or we're in this comfortable situation, or other people expect things of us that are not consistent with this. And there's a misalignment. And that's where being unfulfilled lives. It lives in that opposing dynamic. But when we're called to do something and we're doing it, we're aligned. We're moving in that direction. So you have to do it. And that was the message that Amanda was driving toward. And one of the things that she said with conviction was that failure is not an option. And I leaned into this a little bit more because a lot of times we're led to believe, and I've said this myself, that, many times with regard to failure is okay. We can, fail upward, or we could fail, fail our way to the top, or where we learn from failure, things like that. And that's certainly, in my opinion, I believe that to be true, but there's context matters in this case. And in the context of what Amanda was talking about, these are the important things that we need to look at where failure is not an option, are non-negotiables. She calls them glass balls because if we drop those glass balls, they break. Things like failure within the family is not an option, or failure within her, within AppIt, the business that she owns, is not an option because she doesn't want to, she can't fathom the idea of losing that business and the people that work there and the impact that has on that community. And that attitude drives her forward. And so there are things, there are rubber balls, so to speak, that we can drop and they just bounce up and down, but we have to be intentional about knowing what our glass balls are so that we can hold on to them. And that is an element of becoming excellent. And this is something she had learned from one of her earliest mentors, which is somebody one of the people that trained her in one of her earlier jobs of selling homes. Her name was Natasha, and Amanda says that she was beautifully trained by Natasha. And the reason that was because Natasha walked the talk. She believed that she believed in excellence and in practicing excellence, and she practiced what she preached. And this brought Amanda to this philosophy of excellence and mediocrity can't cohabitate. That either mediocrity would go by the wayside, or would select itself out, or it would rise up to excellence with excellent leadership. And with that, she said that you're not entitled to be a leader. You need to be worthy. You need to earn it. You have to demand more of yourself. And this led us into a direction of talking about balance, because a lot of times when you're demanding a lot of yourself, especially as a leader, you tend to get burned out. You tend to not be able to find that balance. But digging into this with Amanda a little bit more, she said there's no such thing as balance. And this resonated with me because of a recent interview I had with Aaron Belke, who said he didn't believe in balance either. He believed in harmony. And the power came there is that I made the analogy of when you're looking at a person walking a tightrope, or one of those tension lines between two trees. When somebody's walking on that, it requires a lot of energy to maintain balance. Same is true in life. If we're seeking balance in life, it's going to drain our energy. It's going to take a lot of energy. But when we're looking for that harmony, when we find that the things that we do to be good parents overlap in the things we do to be good leaders at work, or we're aligned in our values, or we're aligned in our philosophies, in how we show up authentically at work and at home and in our communities, then we're living in harmony. We don't have to find balance, but we're living in harmony. And that harmony creates more energy. It gives us that ability to be more of ourselves, so that we can continue to grow. After all, we aren't built for perfection, as Amanda says. We're built to try. And when we try, we continuously experience growth. One of the points about fear that Amanda made was that all fear is an indicator of lack of knowledge. So in other words, if she's experienced that fear of anything, there's a lack of knowledge. There could be a lack of knowledge about the future, or what to expect. or a lack of knowledge about a specific topic, so we get afraid. So then the powerful thing that she said there was that education is the antidote to fear. And so one of the things she does when she feels burned out, which admittedly she said is something that she does struggle with, she leans into education. She leans into that. She leans into seeking out the inspiration from specific people. And I asked her who specifically she looks at. Dan Go is one of them. Andrea Fawcett is another. Lewis Howes, Ryan Holiday, and Lauren Zoller are a few that she listens to, that she looks at, and that she goes to for inspiration. And kind of going back in the interview to where she, what skills she got early on, and within sales, she learned very, very early in her life that she was made for sales. I mean, she held the record for Girl Scout cookie sales. And I think she said she held it for a very long time. So she was born to be a salesperson. But what she found when she took the leap from selling homes, which she said required or where her enthusiasm really helped in that situation, to selling in the technology level, she found that enthusiasm didn't really resonate necessarily with the CTOs and the people and the CIOs, the people who were making those big decisions, but they were more expertise focused. So she had to shift her style of sales, which led her to understand that, when that it was one of the things that she wishes were taught in school and to kids. And I agree with this wholeheartedly, is better communication, how we communicate in different circles, how we communicate with people, how we sell. One of the things that blew my mind was that, we have a lot of, within our colleges, we have a lot of business administrative degrees, business administration degrees, things like economics, or you can get a degree in marketing, or you get a degree in accounting, which Amanda did. But there are very, very few, if any, degrees in sales. And sales is a skill that is wildly valuable, not just for salespeople, but just for life, because you learn the communication, you learn to get rejected, you learn to deal with that rejection in a positive way. You deal the art of persuasion rather than pressuring. And if they taught more of that, I think that we all could be better communicators. Anyway, this was a very, very powerful interview, and I really, really hope you'll watch it, because I cannot do it justice here on this recap. I can only highlight some of the gold nuggets here, but hearing it from Amanda herself, hearing these nuggets of wisdom, hearing this leadership expertise that she shares with us, it's one of the most powerful things you'll get all week, if not out of this month. So please give it a listen. I thank you so much for tuning in on Flow Over Fear. We will see you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.